Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys. So today is our last lecture of the semester. Um, Thank you for staying with us and bearing with us in this online semester. I know it's been rough for everyone. It's been very rough for us too. So yeah. So here's the final lecture on portfolio and personal branding, and just a Q&A on us on like for us if you want anything. So I'll be going over like how to make a portfolio and like what the steps I think should like one should approach when making a portfolio. And this is someone coming from the perspective of recruiting. In your case, you can take what you want. If you're making a portfolio just for just to showcase your work, some things might not apply. So just take what you want from this. So what is a portfolio? A portfolio is a body of work to show your recruiters to demonstrate your level of skill, creativity, and unique voice. So when recruiters are, when you like put your portfolio in your CV, your resume, or your job application, they're quickly just looking at your portfolio to see like whether you have the skill necessary. You can think of unique ideas, and that you have unique voice to say in the in the in the world around you. So that's more related to personal branding, which Christina will talk about. So when you build a portfolio, there's like I guess five main steps to think about or like to approach to building one. So it's define, create, select, showcase, and compile. And we're going over like each step in depth. So defining, before you even start making a portfolio, same thing, same thing with a brand. Like, what is the purpose of your portfolio? Is it to who are you building it for? Is it for recruiters, for yourself, for your friends, for just the general public? Um, and then with this in mind, you have to cater your portfolio to that audience, similar to your brand. If your brand has a persona, your portfolio has a persona too. It's not yourself. And when you design portfolio, you should look introspectively into like what makes you you, right? Like what type of design do you do? Do you do graphic, visual, product, um, writing? You can showcase any type of thing, like UX writing. Um, what are your interests? What makes you stand out? What skills do you have? And more on this like will be again talked by Katrina. So after you like sort of like defined why you want to create a portfolio, now you have to actually start like thinking of things to put in your portfolio. So just here's some examples of like what you can include in your portfolio. You can include client work if you have. So if you're recruiting, you can show like showing client work gives you credibility to what you do, and that people have actually approached you in the past, and they trust you to make something out of nothing. And it showcases you can design at a corporate level. So where can I get client work? You can get that at design consultancies or like school design projects, for example, like NOD, BI, consulting clubs, or even your own if you are a freelancer, um, from Fiverr, Upwork, or if people like asked you to help, like if people even asked you to help like make to design something, you can definitely show that. Or like you can find client work from Facebook groups or like job postings online. I think especially given everything's virtual, there's a lot of like gigs online you can find on Slack, like the Design at Berkeley Slack. Uh, there's like different resources that you can look at. So this is an example of like a client work. This was a student who so Johan took the class with me in fall, I think fall 19. No, spring 19. He took it with me, and then he made a portfolio, and this is like one of his pages. It has like his client work and like what he did for this company. And then this is another friend. She's a Berkeley student who worked at New York Times, and she showcased like her her internship work for the New York Times, and where she helped contribute to making the widget for New York Times. Uh, Show your voice. So if you don't have client work, fret not. Everyone starts from somewhere. Give yourself the project you wish you had. You can choose self projects to demonstrate your voice, creativity, and passion for design. For example, this class is example of a personal project that you can include on your portfolio, and they can either be fleshed out as a client, like for example, like oh you have these certain deliverables, or they can just be like one-off, like for example, a poster you made, a drawing you made, but just something that reflects what you do as a designer and something that you're proud of. So there's another friend named Frances. She did like a for this is actually for like a I think a Adobe competition, Creative Jam, and she just put what she did for that uh, what she did for that competition. And again, I guess she branded it. She put a lot of time into it even after the competition uh, make it make it her own and showcase what she can do. Um, I think we showed this before, but Mira, she's a past instructor. This is a personal project that she showed by doing two things. So one's like her brand mashup, and the right is her alphabet poster alphabet, where like it's like one letter per one alphabet per poster, using a different font and like illustration. Again, another example. Johan, he's really into like iconography, and he made these like different like aquatic or like animal icons, and that's his like personal project to show that he's capable at making icons and illustrations. Another, so she graduated, I think. So she made a personal project on eggs, where she had every day was a different illustration related to eggs, and she made a GIF as well. Yeah, so you can see like I thought it's cute. You should check it out. So yeah, these are just a few examples of different personal projects you could do. A branding one, you could do a case study by looking at existing or making an existing product or brand redesign. So you can look at a existing work out there. For example, like you could redesign Facebook, you could redesign a brand if you think there's a problem with it. If you think or like a yeah services that you think could be uplifted, you can make it yourself. You could rebrand it yourself. You can also include like infographics, illustrations, or classwork, um, or different design challenges, as we mentioned last lecture. That's also a project you can include. So selection. So now you have like a bunch of work that you could have made. How do you choose the work? How do you choose the best work for your portfolio? So here are just some tips on like what guidelines you can follow to choose like the work to choose which work to put in your portfolio. So like while like it may seem intuitive just to slap everything on your portfolio, right? Like if you've done everything you have, might as well just put everything here. Um, it's advised that you only choose like a few of work, like a best number of work, because firstly recruiters aren't going to look at everything anyway, and you want to put the projects that are like high quality and like reflect the work that you can work at. Just because like if someone sees like all your work and some is like a different fidelity than other, they might think differently of how you work. So it's advised you just put your best work that you can talk about. Demonstrate range but keep it cohesive. So again, this relates to like dumping everything you can do. For example, if um, so I'll explain what the team model is, but you want to show the person that yes, you can do different types of things, but you're really specialized in one thing. So let's say you put photography, your high school art, your graphic design work. You can put all three, but um, if a recruiter is like approaching you and you put all three, then you're expected that you can do all three. So you might, if you put like your high school art, then like someone might ask you, hey, can you help me do some high school art, even though you might not do it anymore. And same with photography. So only put the work that one reflects what you want to do, and but also shows like your range. So this is like the T model. So like you can show like a variety of like types of mediums. So for example, like you can make it as cohesive as you want. Like for example, like for me, like I have my main like dev T part is like product design. I'm also okay with like illustration and poster design because they're like somewhat related. So that's why like, but I don't show that many pieces in those things, just because like I don't want to be hired for that. I want to be hired for product design. So like I also might do photography, but I won't put it just because I don't want to be hired for that. But yeah, this only applies if you're like um, if you're recruiting. But if you want to share everything you can do, that's fine too. For example, so this is another friend in Berkeley. He's a junior right now. His name is Adam. He does his main focus is on like AR, VR, and industrial design. So he just showed like a few examples of like what he can do. But on the side, he also does like I think his main focus is industrial, and then his like side projects are AR VR. And this is on his Instagram just because like he doesn't want to. So the previous one was on his portfolio, which this is stuff that he wants to be recruited for. But this is on his Instagram because he doesn't want to be recruited for that. And he's just doing this for fun. But yeah, this guy's really talented. You should check him out. Yeah, projects over pieces. So in your portfolio, you should try to show entire projects. Like this is a project rather than one-off. So it shows that you can think holistically and maintain a consistent style throughout the project. And like I said, if you don't have projects, a good way to start is self projects. Again, just trying to tie everything together. Be thoughtful of what you include. So your portfolio needs to attract the people you want to attract. Don't put web design if you don't do web design. Think of your portfolio as your greatest hits. So like let's say you made like 10 different albums, you just put like the best song from each album into that into your portfolio. And it's very likely that not everyone will look at everything you can do. So just put the best things you want to be want you want people to see. So yeah, I'll take it to Ella.
Okay, sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay. Oops. All right, so showcasing your work, and this is, how do you present your work visually? So you definitely want to highlight your process, and this is often really difficult to do. I know this is really difficult for me because my process is often very messy. So this is definitely, moving forward as designers, you want to keep this in mind and as you're going along designing your work, to keep your process as clean as possible. Definitely try to take nice photos whenever you can. Um, and then also think about how much of your process you want people to observe, because this is a reflection of the way you think. And so you want to highlight to, potential hirers, how you think in the best possible, and logical ways of your design. And here's just some like, nice examples of kind of like process work. And so, and also in your case with your assets, your process work is going to look like the logo work you did earlier. So, photographing that in kind of nice stylistic ways and formatting it in nice ways. Um, and also, there's a lot you can do with kind of justifying your design decisions with like different angles and things like that. And there's a lot of other research on that. And so then with showcasing, you can go and showcase, like Jago was talking about, specific projects, and you might want to do that in this sort of format where you talk about duration, project manager, which hopefully is yourself, process and method, project introduction, and then your role. And I think this is a really text heavy way of doing this, but I encourage you to think about how to do this visually. And then the problem, so it's really nice when you can show how much you understood the problem, and specifically with all of your brands. It might not seem like you have a problem. Maybe you were designing a brand that's kind of more light and fun, but I'm sure there is some problem that your brand is tackling. So it's really nice to take that opportunity and fluff it up and show exactly how much attention and care you put into your brand. And then opportunity areas, you can always go in and speak about how this applies into the real world, um, how this brand can become a reality and what it will do out in the real world. And then also maybe speak about how you would like to move this forward, whatever the project is, whether it's this brand in this class or another portfolio item. And then what to show. So you can always include like sneak peeks of projects, and you can do this in your website, and you can do this in the form of graphics and mockups. And then again, those like introduction, duration, as they were on the previous slide. And then research, sketches, screenshots. Those screenshots are often very low fidelity, so definitely keep that in mind. And you just kind of have to try things out and see how they apply to different kind of formatting changes. And then, yeah, reflection and insights is always very important. I think you want to show how this has changed you as a person and a designer and a worker. And that's always a really great way to leave any sort of portfolio work when you're trying to be hired. So yeah, we've talked about this a lot in this class. So again, mockups are just super professional and will highlight anything you're doing, in my opinion. It's always nice to see something visual, regardless of what type of work you're doing, especially with a website. Like, I think it's very rare that people want to go and read through a chunk of text. So however you can visually highlight what you are doing and what you're working on can definitely bring your work to life, in my opinion. And then think about how you're going to showcase it with printing or making it IRL. And here's some, more kind of student or designer examples and more mock-ups. And so, yeah, it's really nice to present in a variety of mock-ups, not just have the same digital platform over and over again, but having posters and like billboards and different things like that. It really shows how applicable a brand is. And then different kind of settings is also very helpful for that. And again, here are some more resources as you guys go into your finals. Just remember they're always here for you, and always feel free to reach out if you're struggling to find good mock-ups. And as I think, as Jago mentioned, high fidelity photos is super important. And it also really, like, if you have one photo that's out of focus, it totally messes with your brand consistency and the professionalism of your brand. So if you decide to incorporate photographs in your branding, that's a whole another area where you'll have to think about this a lot. So adequate lighting and different angles. But if you're not presenting your own photographs, definitely just make sure that they're, you don't have anything that's not supposed to be in the image, or you make sure you haven't cropped them in strange ways, and just make sure they're nice and high resolution. And so here's an example of some architectural work, just to show you the range of possibilities with showcasing your work. And so, yeah, think about your like glamour shots and how to use like white backgrounds to really highlight what you're doing. I think this does like a really great job because it highlights these shadows that are being created. And so it really pushes the form of this object just because the background is white. So, think about how your background color is going to highlight the object that you place within it, and bring that same kind of thought into mockups. And again, just some more I think this was just, really nice shots. So definitely play with different angles and make sure you have really nice photos. And I'm gonna leave it to Brian. Do you need me to keep screen sharing?
Yeah, sure, let's do that. Yeah, this is also just really nice photos. Some work I did for a professor. When I made the model, but it was not this nice. How I don't know how they photographed it so nice, but it's just a point to how important photography can be, and if it's done well, it can really amplify the project. Yeah, like when I gave it to them, it did not look this nice. Like I don't know how they took this nice of photographs, but yeah, photographs are make or break a project, especially if you have physical things. Next slide. Um, wait, let's come back. Wait, actually, I'll just share my screen. It's um, yeah. Is it being shown?
I think it's maybe loading still.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Is it being shared now?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. So compiling your work now. Now that you have all the subject and how you're gonna and stuff, where should you put it? Where should you put all your beautiful work? And yeah, nowadays most people have a digital portfolio of some kind because that's the age we're in. But some jobs do require physical portfolios or printed versions. I guess they can be nice if you like go to a physical career fair if those happen. Um, and printed versions are used a lot in architecture stuff. So be mindful. It's a different formats. And then here are, but most important, like I guess most people have the digital website as their main portfolio or a way to compile their work. And here are some examples, starting from like the simplest to the more advanced ones. So simple ones like Notion, which is where our DeCal website is built on. Adobe Portfolio, Behance. These are almost like Instagram in a way where it has sort of pre-curated formats. You just upload images and small text. And there's benefits to each of these. Obviously, with Adobe Portfolio and Behance, is that there's already a community on those websites, so it's easier to reach a broader audience. And that could result in more traffic in your website and your work and potential opportunities. And then the next step is website builders. These are like Squarespace. I'm sure everyone's seen their ads. They're everywhere. Wix, WordPress, Simplice, and Cargo Collective. And these are a bit more, I guess, customizable and advanced in the sense that there is some sort of template and structure given to you, but it's ultimately up to you on how you want to present yourself. A lot of them use like blocks. Basically, you have blocks of words, blocks of text, and then very simple ways to program your website, like a button goes to what web page and stuff like that. And then the most advanced, I have no idea what these are, but I assume you need to know how to code things to use Webflow Editor X or coding it. And yeah, if you're tech savvy, then like coding your own website obviously has its benefits. You can that in it of itself is a skill that you can show to employers or other people. You can do a lot of cool things that templates websites simply can't do. Get a domain name if it's possible. Some of them aren't actually that expensive. You just have to search around. It's way more professional than like to have Squarespace at the end or Wix or whatever website you use. And yeah, student codes. There's a lot of student codes. Squarespace has them. Or you can code it yourself. I don't know how to do that, but yeah. And then different structures to explore and how you should format your pieces. So I guess the main sort of overarching goal is that at first glance, within like 5 seconds, they should know what you're about, what type of design you do. Are you an illustrator? Do you do graphic design, product design, UI, UX? And then it should also entice them to check out projects in depth. Here are some examples. These are just examples I pulled from the different ways to like different website builders, I guess. Here's one from Adobe Portfolio. At first glance, you can see they have high focus on calligraphy. They do a lot of handmade stuff. And then, so these are like, I guess, 4 of their best works. And then it encourages you to look at all the other stuff that they have. Then this is Behance, which is also like a portfolio. This is just a broad page of the breadth of stuff of work on Behance. And then each has like a very distinct style that entices you to click and check out what their stuff is about. Yeah. There's a lot of websites that have portfolio in them, but they're depicted in like drastically different ways depending on what work they do. And then here's one from Squarespace template, which is like first glance, it's a restaurant because of the food. And here are examples, I believe, from Wix. And yeah, they just showcase, like the landing page should really showcase your personality and your best works. And this website especially is really cool. This is a big animation. If you have time, you should check it out. And then here's a template from Cargo Site, Cargo Collective. I really like this website builder. It's very, very quirky. There's a lot of like experimental ways on how the website operates. Like in this website here, like all the stuff move around. There's a lot of movement. Very playful website builder. Yeah, and then here's an example from Rachel. I think the website here is coded by herself, or it's not from one of the generic template websites. And then one note is it's always important to include contact info because you want people to reach out if they want to hire you for work. And then use sort of express your personality in all facets of your portfolio or website, like how her copy text showcases her personality. And then link to all your social media accounts you can have, LinkedIn, Instagram, Dribble. I don't even know what M is, and then Twitter and whatever. Just the more links you have to your page, the more traffic you're going to get, and the higher likelihood someone might see something they like and hire you, I guess. And yeah, and then this is an alternative. This is my portfolio, or splice of it, because architects tend to. It's rare for us to have websites, I guess, and because it's usually in print format or like digital print format, like a PDF, just because of the nature of how we work, and yeah. And then I'll give it to Katrina to talk about designing your portfolio.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see this?
It's black.
No.
Okay, I think you might have to share because Zoom has been kind of tweaking on me all week and I cannot share my screen.
Okay, I got you.
All right, thank you. Okay, designing your portfolio. So your portfolio is an extension of yourself and your design taste and who you are as a designer. So it's really important that you come up with a cohesive brand that represents that. So these are just a few useful resources. We won't go over them right now, but if you want in your free time and you're curious, I would highly recommend you read through these things. But yeah, let's get right into personal branding because it's really important. First off, you are more than your work, so your personal brand is just as important as your work. It's really, really important. Like people will go to your website if they want, to potentially work with you, and the first thing they see is like who you are, and you got to present yourself as kind of like a brand because you are a business. So let your audience know who you are, how you think, what you like, what type of person you are. And you want to kind of just give off the vibe like, okay, when they're on their website, when they're on your website, you want them to be like, yeah, I want to be this person's friend. Like, I would definitely love to work with them. So a few personal brand guidelines, very similar to just like branding guidelines in general. You need to have like your own type of logo, your own signature set of fonts, your own colors. Again, as Jago and Brian were talking about, you need to have like specific types of projects in mind. If you're an illustrator, you want to showcase illustration projects. If you're a brand designer, you want to showcase a bunch of brand design products. It's really good to have a focus. And your entire personal brand, i.e., your logo, your fonts, and your color palette, should all be kind of injected into whatever you put out into the world, whether it be like cover letters if you're applying to jobs, or resumes, or thank you letters if you're following up after an interview, or literally just anything to make sure you have like a really cohesive brand. This is kind of an example. I hate this now, so I have to rebrand, but this on the left is my logo or like brand mark. The kind of website in the middle is my website. You can see the same fonts used all across my logo, my website description, and my resume, which is on the right. And then you can see that really like IK blue shade that kind of pops up on the left and the right. This is Maria. She used to be a facilitator for this class, but this is her website, and you can see she has kind of that signature creamy yellow shade along with her signature font. And then this is my cousin's website, and you can see she has this kind of like coral as her brand color, and then she uses that really bold sans serif as a header, and then Fright Display, which is like a really elegant, gentle serif font as like the body, and you can see that on her website and her resume as well. So the landing page is a really important part of your website. If you want to build one, it's basically kind of good to have this format, I would suggest. So like a short blurb of who you are, like where you're from, what do you study, what do you do, what do you enjoy, and then just your work. So this is a good example of what I mean. So here I have like a really quick description about who I am, a few things that I enjoy, and then it goes kind of right into my work. And the reason I kind of recommend you do that, especially at this age, is just because recruiters are not going to spend a lot of time on your website, and they're not going to want to like browse through everything. So it's kind of good to just put your work like right there, make it super accessible so that it's like one of the first things they can click, and they have like a general idea about who you are, and it's just a very straightforward process, and they don't have to like do any digging to really get to find the projects you're really proud of. This is another example of a designer who just immediately showcased their work. They didn't even like have a little short blurb about them. So that's another way to do it. Here, this person took a really creative route. You can see on the top left corner, they have like first person and third person, which is kind of like a running joke because a lot of designers and people in general like love to talk about themselves in the third person on the website. So you can like toggle between that, and like it'll change depending on what you select. But yeah, gives like a short overview of who she is. Like she's currently taking on freelance product design and identity projects, and it's just a bunch of links to pages that will get you where you need to go. This is kind of like her home page. Okay, so actually the page before that was her work page. Or this is a little bit confusing, but there's a work page where it showcased like all of the work, which I think was 2 slides ago. And then yeah, that person's a different designer. Okay, going next. Yeah, so this is her landing page. This is Libby's landing page. it gives a brief overview of who she is and what she does, and then you click on work. So I guess once you're kind of in a more senior position, you're more well established, you can have a little bit more fun with your landing page. You don't have to like immediately showcase your work if you don't want to. I think this person is obviously more senior. She's probably in demand, has a few projects under her belt, so she doesn't have to be like, oh, this is all my work immediately. She can really kind of take the time to tell people who she is. So this is Maria's homepage. Here she has the blurb, and then it goes straight into work. This is another way to do it. This guy kind of chose to give a little description about himself and then put his work kind of on the left, and there aren't any pictures or anything, but he's like more of an interactive developer. So I guess like he kind of wants you to click on those things instead of just like showing a picture of it. And then on the right is like a really big call to action for get in touch. And then again, this is another example of someone who chose to not immediately showcase their work. Instead, the work is kind of like on a tab on the top right, and this is kind of what you see when you first enter. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to do this. I've kind of linked each person's website at the bottom, but just like go through it. Typewolf also really loves to showcase personal websites that are good, so I would highly recommend just checking it out every week. Yeah. The about page. So the about page is typically like another tab on your website that, you know, allows prospective clients or like recruiters or people to just get a general better idea of who you are if they really are curious and want to know a little bit more. So the about page typically displays your name. You can put a photo if you want, your skills, your specific experiences, where you've worked. And it should also showcase your voice and your personality through whatever copywriting you do on the about page, as well as your contact information, which is arguably one of the most important ones, so people know how to reach out to you. This is my old about page, so I just put a longer blurb about like who I am, what I'm doing, and you can see in blue it kind of links to different things just so that people can click on it if they're curious and want to know a little bit more about like each experience. And then like a few fun facts down below, and then if you scroll there's like a little contact sheet. This is one designer's about page. So she has a longer blurb, and then she offers a list of services, which I actually think is really smart. Like, especially if you're freelancing, people kind of want to know exactly what you offer. So that's a really smart way of doing that. And then the client she's worked with, the studio she's worked with, and like currently what she's available for. This is Maria's about page. So again, the trend is kind of like you say more about stuff that you would want people to know, and then you have cute little links to like where you've worked, or like something you really love, or like something quirky about yourself. And then same again. Yeah. So the about page can answer like, what are your goals as a designer? What are you hoping to do? What are you really passionate about designing? If you're passionate about web design and like interactive websites, then your about page should kind of say that. Like who and what you want to design for. So if you want to design for direct-to-consumer brands and you want to do the brand identity for that, it should kind of say like that's what you're passionate about. What your design methodology is, like how you design, what your process is. It can kind of give a little, doesn't have to go completely into it, but it can kind of give people a general idea of what you do. And just fun facts, like what are your interests outside of design? Because, you know, it's fun to remind people you're more than just like your job or your position, and you're like an actual person they would want to, you know, get to know. A few tips: make your resume easily accessible. That could be just like making a tab called resume that people can easily click on, or yeah, and make your work really easily accessible and clickable. Like I said, a lot of people just showcase it right at the landing page just so that you don't have to click anywhere else. Put contact information. I would recommend just installing a header or a footer on your website. So no matter what page they're on, if they scroll to the bottom of any of those pages, there's like a little contact thing. Encourage people to get in touch, whether you just write, oh, please talk to me. Like, I'd love to connect on the best and worst fonts or something like that. Just sound friendly and approachable, and just make your brand really representative of who you are. So if you really love illustrations and a specific type of illustration, like put them on your website, like throughout in various forms of like little stickers or something, or like little pop-ups, and just find a voice and stick with it. So a few resources. These are, the first one is for like tech based one. So if you're like into product design and you want to work for Facebook or something, that's a good resource. And then Type Wolf I've mentioned for typography and just like good websites. Yeah. And
So I
Jacob
think,
said best folios.
yeah, basically, so we'll go to the Q&A after we tell like what next week is gonna be like. Yeah, you can still share screen. Next slide. So basically, everyone's going to be presenting to everyone their brand, and these are all the things that you need in the. There's also it'll be in the Notion, but basically it's just like compiling everything that you've done throughout the semester, which is actually a lot if you really think about it, and then putting it in a nice presentation. So you can just make it like a landscape, like PDF or like a keynote, like Google Slides, whatever, and then just like put one thing on each page in that order, or the order does not really matter, but like you can put but you just need to have all these things, and it should like logically make sense. So if you like think back to Katrina's presentation like 2 lectures ago on like presenting your work, think the same lines. Like you could show like like your brand logo, and then like your brand logo, and then your like maybe an illustration, and then a description of your brand, and then like a different asset. You don't have to follow like the specific order, but just make sure you include everything. And then each person will have like 5 minutes ish to present. And then next slide. Oh, go back. Sorry. And then in the submission folder, you'll be submitting two things. One, all of this, like like the PDF version of it, and then secondly, is just like all the assets in individually, like not as a PDF, but like image, so that we can like easily show it. And if you like have any concerns about like putting your work public, let us know. But it'll be put public just for people can see what we've done throughout the semester. And this will be essentially, if you need to touch up anything, this is your last chance to do so. Make one more asset as well, and then do this. Yeah, like this part should not take that long, but yeah, it is the final lecture. So now, please stay, but we'll have a Q&A session on like our lives. We can show you more in depth about our portfolio as well. I can share screen.
Should I end the stream?
You can